Dr. John Harmon, thank you so much for always being here for our team. And we always get excited on the last Saturday of the month because we get to hear your knowledge and wisdom that you share with our team. Here, I'm gonna pass it on to you now.
All right, well, thank you very much. My Halloween costume for the day is my hairpiece, my brown hairpiece. My hair is turning brown through these with the use of the patch. It used to be a lot more gray. So I guess I'm grateful for that. Wasn't that important to me. But thank you for having me on the call today. I'm excited to share this information with you. I get to talk about the science stuff, and I want to start out first for those who weren't on the previous call to just give a little bit of background about the company itself. So we're talking about the GHK copper peptide in just a few minutes. But you need to know why it is that we're talking about that peptide. And the company called LifeWave was founded, it's a 15-year-old company, and David Schmidt has invented and discovered some of the most brilliant biohacks I've ever heard of in my 30-year practice. And specifically today, we're talking about the X39 stem cell activating patch that looks like this. And it's very, very important that we talk about this briefly before we even talk about the GHK copper peptide and what is the connection between the two. So David Schmidt discovered something, and I always start out by asking people if they know how a prism works. A prism, you shine the light into it, and then all of a sudden out the other end, you can see all the different spectrum of colors and frequencies out on the other side of that. Well, in this patch, there are some organic crystals, some amino acid salts, and oxygen. And David Schmidt figured out a way to concentrate or amplify biophotons and infrared heat that comes from our body. You can kind of look at this as a little Wi-Fi amplifier in a way. So it selectively reflects back into the body certain frequencies that then activate and tell the body to do different things. The X39 happens to elevate in our body a peptide called the GHK copper peptide. That's what we're going to go into a lot today. I want you all to know you don't have to know everything. You don't have to remember or know all the details about the GHK copper peptide. I would recommend that you do not try to tell everybody about it, but I want you to have a little bit of in your arsenal to answer specific questions if somebody does have more of a science question. I know there have been a lot of doctors invited to this call. I'm speaking to you right now about the science behind this patch. In that, LifeWave, well, I'm going to get ahead of myself on my slides. I don't want to steal my own thunder. How do you do that? So LifeWave, let me do a little screen share here. Can you enable my screen share?
There you go.
Okay. All right. All right. The science of the GHK copper peptide. I know some of you heard this, some of this last month, but I'm telling you, every time I go through it, I remember something different that I say, oh yeah, well, there's that. I'm Dr. John Harmon, LifeWave Executive Director. This, the whole thing is based, of this patch, excuse me, the whole thing is based on a patent that was granted in May to David Schmidt and LifeWave. And what is that? LifeWave had to prove to the U.S. Patent Office that wearing the LifeWave X39 patch elevates the GHK copper peptide in the blood. Now we can't. Lifeway had to prove that, but the things that I'm talking about in this slideshow, we can't state that that wearing the patch cures all of these things that other scientists have found out. We can't claim that. And the things that are mentioned in the slides. But here's what we know. If you can increase the amount of the GHK copper peptide in the bloodstream, all kinds of really beneficial things happen. And that's why I'm going into such detail today. And I hope this answers some of the questions about why do we have such a wide variety of things that happen that people tell us about that seems like sometimes it seems like they're making it up because it sounds so fantastic and more like a dream than anything else. All right. The effects of this GHK copper peptide in the bloodstream are well researched and have been over the last 40 to 50 years. This isn't something that David Schmidt discovered. It was actually discovered a long time ago that we'll talk about. The GHK copper peptide is called the anti-aging breakthrough. That's what it looks like. There's a little molecule right there. The Cu right there is where the copper ion is incorporated into the structure of this molecule. Now, don't get all confused by that. These are just what it's made of. Imagine that this is just a little switch. It's made of different amino acids. And somebody from last time said, what's an amino acid? So I want to go into that just a little bit. It's a building block of proteins. Lots of amino acids hooked together make up proteins, which make up a lot of structural things in our body. But our neurotransmitters are also made of proteins. So they have very important uses in the body. Questions that I want to answer in this presentation. What is the GHK copper peptide? What is its function? And then again, why do people get such a wide range of effects when using the X39? I mean, you can take something like, niacin. You give somebody some niacin, it gives them a flush. Pretty much if you take a lot of it, it'll do that to almost everybody if you take the certain type. And if you take this or that, it has this effect on the body. But when you have, when you increase the GHK copper peptide in the bloodstream, all kinds of beneficial effects happen, and depends on what a person is lacking or which genes need to be repaired first. That's what happens first, usually in the person. And I want to compare this to a piano. Let's say you're a concert pianist and you're going to give this recital. You're going to play this beautiful piece in Carnegie Hall. And you sit down at the piano and you start to play, and the piano is way out of tune. Imagine those are your genes. The strings are your genes, but they're not tuned. We still have our genes, but what happens is we get a lot of free radical damage to the genes, and they can't tell your body to do something. Anytime anything happens in the body, a gene has to start to code to tell it to do that. So, making brown hair, I'm starting to get my hair starting to get browner on the top. It used to be a lot more gray, but it might be the gene that actually tells your body to make hair at all, and it receives some damage. Well, the GHK copper peptide is what our body uses to repair up to 2,200 of our genes. So it helps reset our genes to a younger state. So this is also known as a short chain tripeptide. So it's instead of a big long chain of amino acids that would make a protein, if you just imagine a really short protein, they call it a tripeptide. So they're very small. They're used as signaling molecules and also building blocks. Here's where the fun started in 1973. Dr. Laurent Picard, I think that's how we pronounce his name. The first thing that was ever observed with the GHK copper peptide is they took old worn out liver cells. I think it was from mice. And they exposed it to GHK copper peptide, and those old cells started to produce proteins like younger cells did. That's how the whole thing started. So the more scientists looked at it, the more they came to understand its specific but very unusual properties. And here are some of the things. It naturally occurs in our blood, in our saliva, in our urine. Remember this piece right here, it'll help you. Levels of GHK decline by about 60% by the time we're 60 years old. 60, 60. Just remember that. 60% by the time you're 60 years old. It has been proven to exhibit antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, regenerative, and wound healing actions. Now, let's talk about upregulate, downregulate, pleiotropic, all these science words. Just remember, upregulate, you got to make something do something that it's not doing. Downregulate, you have to stop it from doing something because you don't want it to just keep going and going and going. So our genes have to be upregulated or downregulated, on or off. The pleiotropic that's what they're talking about, the GHK. What happens is multiple genes don't just affect one thing. You'll turn one gene on and it actually affects other genes' ability to work. So you see this domino effect. So here's a little diagram that the next one that I designed. Here it is right here. Here's gene number 1. So if we turn that one on, it has this effect on the body. Let's say that this is growing hair, but it also affects gene number 2. This might be turning hair brown. Gene number 2 affects what it's supposed to, but it also then affects gene number 3's ability to do its job. And here it is right here. Look over on the left, normal genes, normal gene expression. Now remember, each gene has 2,600 different expressions. You used to think you have a gene, it's for this, and that's what you get, that's what you're born with, but it's not. Genes can be affected by thoughts, by diet, by EMFs, all kinds of things. So we get damage to our genes right here, and then our genes are altered, which then give an altered expression. In comes the GHK copper peptide right here. The body uses it to fix the genes, and then they get reset to a normal, younger, healthy expression, which gives a younger you. Here's what it does. It adjusts the body, and this is what scientists have found out over a long period of time. They think that the GHK developed as a quick way to help humans and animals adapt to something that's happening in their environment. Like all of a sudden it got really, really cold and our bodies were still used to having warmer weather. It makes such changes on the gene expression that we're able to tolerate that. Pregnancy, growth, starvation, infections, aggression, be able to fight off animal attacks. It happens so quickly with our genes, turning them on or off, it helps us adapt to the environment. Here it is. The GHK copper peptide affects up to 4,200 of our 21,000 genes. So this is why we get such a wide action on so many different processes in the body. It stimulates. This is very, very important for those of us who have scars. 3 weeks ago yesterday, I had knee replacement surgery, and the way the X39 is making that incision site, the only thing I could compare this to is, the Wicked Witch of the West, and I'm melting, and she just kind of goes down into nothing. The big old scar at the incision site it's almost like it's just morphing into normal skin. It's truly incredible. I've been taking pictures. I'll share that when it's done. But it stimulates both synthesis and breakdown of collagen. Well, why would you want to break down collagen? Well, normal skin, normal collagen is like a wall, and scar tissue is like just like a pile of bricks haphazardly stuck together. So we have these cross linkages like this in scar tissue where normal collagen is flexible. And I'd like to mention at this time, if you have scars that are in the midline or that cross the midline, you really need to work on those because they can create what's called interference fields in the body's electricity. They can cause anything from pain to a hormone dysregulation problem because the body is trying to communicate, and there's like 100 billion impulses going between the brain and the body and the brain and the body per second. And if there's this blockage, the brain never receives information back. Did you do what I told you to do? I told you to do this. Did you do it? No, it just keeps doing it. It just keeps whatever it's doing. It keeps sending out a message, make more of this or do this. So very important to get those scars, and the X39 is excellent for smoothing that scar tissue out. All right, wound healing increases blood vessel. This is all from research, and I've kind of compiled stuff from different papers and things so that I can just give you the key points. But I found this one paper accelerates wound healing. It increases blood vessel formation and increases the level of antioxidant enzymes. So when you give somebody an X39, any of these things that we're talking about right now can happen in their body relatively quickly. Okay, in 2001, this group right here established that the GHK copper restored replicative vitality to fibroblasts from patients after anti-cancer radiation therapy, which that damages cellular DNA. So it was able to fix those fibroblasts that make collagen so that they could start making normal collagen again, rather than having the damaged, very brittle, very non-flexible collagen that forms after that. It altered the expression of human genes important in neuron function by 50%. And when they say plus or minus, remember that upregulation and downregulation, the body has to be able to say do more or do less. And sometimes we actually even have to destroy neurons in the brain that we don't need anymore. We form better pathways. And the brain has to say, okay, kill those guys. I don't need those guys anymore. So that would be, ending that or building more neurons. So this was a study where they actually injected the GHK copper peptide into the skin around damaged spinal segments. And what it does, it's used now for treating damaged spinal segments. And they found that it helped repair the discs in the spinal segments. And one of the things that the GHK copper peptide does, which really interested me, was it increases stem cell production in the skin. Excuse me. Increase the healing of many tissues: skin, stomach, intestine lining, bone tissue. Increase hair growth and thickness, and I can tell you personal experience, it can make it turn back to the color it used to be. It enlarged the hair follicle size. Fibrinogen, don't get confused by this, but the level of fibrinogen is the top predictor of cardiovascular or heart disease. So we get these deposits inside of our arteries of that stuff, and it reduced fibrinogen synthesis. So then the result would be fewer deposits in our arteries. It was the top recommended bioactive compound by this institute, this computer model. It was the top recommended molecule for treatment of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. It restored healthy function in COPD affected cells. Topped, same institute, 1,309 bioactive compounds as the most recommended molecule for the treatment of human metastatic colon cancer. We have a GAPS practitioner in our office. And I just spoke to her 2 days ago, and she told me she's been working with this one client for a long time. And she started using X39. They were struggling for several years with Crohn's, with ulcerative colitis. And they added the X39 to it, bam, healed it up. And now she's incorporated that into all of her clients. She helps with the GAPS diet. She gets them on the X39. This is something that I've talked a lot about in my Wednesday night trainings is apoptosis. And I have a slide after this, so we'll talk about it a little bit. Apoptosis is programmed cellular death, that our body goes around and has a search and destroy team, and cells get targeted for destruction because they're old and they need to be replaced. 50 to 70 billion cells a year are actually intentionally killed through the process of apoptosis. And what the GHK copper peptide did is that reset the programmed cellular death system in human cancer cells. So if you can imagine, normal cells, if when we get together in a year, there's not one cell in your body that will be the same one that exists and lives today except our nerve cells. They're not killed off. But every other cell, your liver will be totally recycled, your skin, your bones, every cell will be destroyed and rebuilt within a year. But think about cancer cells. They just keep multiplying, and there's nothing that goes around and your body says, hey, there's too many of those, kill those, or those are sick and dying, kill those. So the GHK copper peptide actually reset the programmed cellular death in human cancer cells. It happened to be human neuroblastoma, leukemia, and breast cancer, but did not affect healthy cells. Here's a slide on apoptosis. Programmed cellular death, 50 to 70 billion cells a day are destroyed and replaced. Just a little side note right here. When somebody who's had a really poor diet, all of a sudden starts to eat organic, real food, not stuff out of a bag in a box, the body in all of its infinite wisdom says, wow, I have all this good nutrition now. I can build better cells. I'm going to kill off maybe 100 billion today because I can rebuild them. I have enough nutrition. This is why some people go through a rapid detox. They feel stagnant. They feel, kind of fluish, or like they have a cold or something shortly after starting to use the X39. Tell them not to get discouraged by that. Drink more water, use the glutathione patch. We got to help the body get rid of all that stuff, all the debris of what it just killed off. So that will help you understand a little bit about that apoptosis. The NFKB P65 is believed to promote cancer growth. The GHK in this study that was done inhibited the production of the NFKB P65. You don't have to remember all that stuff. Just say that GHK inhibits a substance that's believed to promote cancer growth. That's all. Make it really simple. Reset 84 of our genes to growth inhibition or cancer inhibition. Caused adult mesenchymal stem cells to produce more growth factors and increase stem cell differentiation. That's what it's all about. We can go through all of this other stuff, which we have, and still it comes down to, we're talking about increasing your stem cells, your stem cell production. But all of those other things are side benefits, and all of them can occur by increasing the GHK copper peptide in the bloodstream. How can GHK have such a diverse action, such as healing, anti-cancer, anti-anxiety, COPD, cell repair, etc.? During the course of human development, various genes became associated with various peptides, proteins, and RNA molecules that modulate or regulate their expression for optimal animal survival. This is from a paper that was written. So they were asking questions about why can it have such a wide effect? And it was during human development, you needed something really quick to adapt to different situations. And that's where that, I think that's where that GHK copper peptide developed. Turn your genes to a younger state with the X39. So doctors, I want to talk to you for a minute. Being a healthcare practitioner for 30 years, these are the things I know go through your mind, at least they did through mine, when somebody comes to us with a new product. You know, recommend this to your patients. All of your patients need it. That was rarely the case that all of my patients need it. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I have integrity. I'm only going to recommend things to my patients that they truly need. When I was introduced to this X39 patch, I checked that box because there's not one person except little kids, and I don't, people ask me, can you do it when you're going through chemotherapy and all that stuff? I said, that's up to you. I'm not going to interfere with that. But pretty much everybody else, you can recommend the X39 to because it increases the GHK copper peptide. It increases our stem cells. And so it became really easy to introduce this into my practice. And here's how it went. I don't approach them I don't tell them about this. I don't even broach the topic about the X39 patch during a visit. But as we're walking out, I'd say, like, Mrs. Smith, by the way, what do you know about stem cells? And most people know a little bit. They'll say, well, I think they're good for you, but I've heard they're really expensive. See Susan out front. She has an envelope for you, and it has some free samples of some stem cell activating patches. And all the way out, they're thinking, stem cell activating patches, wait, those are injections. And then have your front desk people show them how to apply them. And that's how you can actually really rapidly increase or implement these into your practice. And you're going to have experiences like this. You give some patches to, this actually happened to a patient or the husband who basically slumps in a chair most of the day and stares down at the floor, doesn't converse with anybody. And then the times that he's not slumped in a chair, he's asleep. So on a Thursday, they patch him. So he has Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They got 4 patches. Monday morning, the wife is in, I need some more of those patches. He's actually up and around talking to people. I need them right now. It was like a total emergency. You're going to have those things. And healthcare providers, that's what we live for, right? That's why we do what we do. We want to make a dramatic, we want to have a dramatic life-altering or add that to their life. My goal for my practice has been, I want to help each person live out their life's fullest expression. If they have, how much can that wife live out her fullest expression if she has to take care of her husband? And what about him? What about if somebody has a diabetic ulcer that nobody can heal, and then you come along and put a patch by it, and then that heals up? What about getting bit by a pit viper? This actually happened as well. As a woman in Georgia, I helped her with it. She was told she's going to have a big necrotic hole in her leg. And at 10 days after she got bitten, we got a patch on her, and she didn't get a big necrotic hole. That's a life-altering thing when you have that happen. So look at it from the point of view, I'm going to have such a broad effect on this patient's health by letting them or having them use the X39. Chiropractors, speaking to you right now, what what are they most concerned about? Getting an adjustment, holding their adjustment. I got adjusted, then everything went out the next day, and I'm here a couple of days later. Now there might be benefits to the doctor's pocketbook, but wouldn't it be better to have a whole army of people saying, you know what, I went to Dr. So-and-so and he helped me hold my adjustments better than anybody that I've ever gone to, because he helped me and he gave me this patch and it repaired my collagen. So my bones and my ligaments can now hold my own bones in alignment. That is in the best interest of the patient, not having them come back to you. This is what opens up referrals. A whole army of people go to Dr. So-and-so. He'll help you hold your adjustments because he knows what to do. So, man, I could talk about this stuff all day, and I appreciate you having me on here.